Breathe. Feel the change in the air. We are no longer in the Dubai desert or the luxury of Tokyo. We are in Lyon, France, in a glass and steel building that never sleeps. The headquarters of Interpol. Here in a windowless office, the Pink Panther project was born. Imagine the walls covered with faces. Hundreds of grainy, black and white photographs of men and women from Serbia, Montenegro, Croatia. Faces that seem common, but hide military minds. Intelligence analysts have stopped seeing isolated robberies. Now they see the pattern. They see them. Invisible threads connecting. A jewelry store in Switzerland with a village in the Balkan mountains. The silence in this room is absolute. Only the hum of servers processing terabytes of information is heard. Intercepted phone calls, hotel records, car rentals, transactions in the Antwerp black market. Interpol has convinced 16 countries to share their deepest secrets about the gang. It is a war of patience. The agents know the Pink Panthers are perfect in execution, but human in their daily lives. They have families, they have lovers, they have weaknesses. The hunt is no longer about catching them at the shop window, but about waiting for them in the shadow of their own routine. Close your eyes and imagine the map of the world lighting up with small red dots. Each dot is a sighting, a clue, a heat trail. The eye of lion is open and does not blink. You are safe in this control room, watching how the net of justice begins to weave its own spider web. Rest. Vigilance is constant, but you only have to listen. Feel the calm of those who wait for the right moment. The time of the Pink Panthers as ghosts is coming to an end. Technology is the silent enemy of the Pink Panthers. For years, their best weapon was cleanliness. They left no fingerprints. They used gloves. They burned their cars. But the world of forensic science advanced faster than their precautions. Imagine a laboratory. The light is white, pure, almost divine. A scientist examines a small piece of cloth found in a burned car in Dubai, or an almost invisible drop of sweat on a jewelry counter in Geneva. That minimal trace is the invisible witness that cannot be bribed or intimidated. DNA. In the 90s, DNA was a slow tool. Now, it is an indelible signature. Interpol began to cross-reference the genetic profiles of Balkan criminals with crime scenes across Europe. Suddenly, the ghosts began to have names and surnames. They were no longer the Pink Panther, they were Dragon.
They were Nabodza.
They were Milan. Science was stripping them of their myth, turning them back into flesh and blood, men who could be tracked by their own biology. Even a cigarette butt extinguished 3 blocks from a robbery became incriminating evidence. The diamond safety net was no longer just glass and steel. It was a microscopic network of genetic data. Feel the coldness of this laboratory. It is a clinical, necessary piece. The Pink Panthers thought they could burn their trail, but they didn't know they left their essence in every move. Sleep with the idea that everything leaves a trace. That order always finds a way to restore itself. Science is working while you rest. It is a slow, inevitable process. Like the growth of the crystals they love so much. Rest in the precision of justice. The first major crack occurred in Monaco. The principality is small, but it has more security cameras per square meter than almost anywhere else on Earth. In 2004, a man named Dragan Mikic, considered one of the gang's operational brains, was arrested after a daring robbery. But the story did not end in the cell. It ended in an escape that seems written for the cinema. Mikik escaped from a maximum security prison in France using a rope ladder, while his accomplices fired assault rifles at the guard towers. It was a reminder that although we were hunting them, they remained dangerous and highly trained. However, that escape was the beginning of the end of their anonymity. Interpol put his face in every airport, on every border. The luxury life they enjoyed on the French Riviera became a life of basements and cheap hotel rooms. They could no longer trust anyone outside their most intimate circle. The stress of being hunted began to take its toll. Imagine what it is like to live knowing that every time someone knocks on your door, it could be the police tactical team. That every time you look out the window, you could be seeing an undercover agent. Diamond money cannot buy peace of mind. They began to make mistakes, small oversights, a call from a phone believed to be secure, a meeting in a Belgrade cafe with someone who was already under surveillance. Listen to the sound of the water drop. It is constant. It is the time running out. The first circle of trust has broken, and water is starting to enter the boat. Feel the tension of those who flee, but let that tension stay there, outside your room. You are in the place of those who observe, of those who know the end is only a matter of time. Rest in the echo of this mystery that begins to resolve itself. The hunt was not only police-led, it was economic. Interpol and intelligence agencies began to track the money trail. Diamonds stolen in Tokyo or London were not sold for their real value. On the black market, a $10 million jewel is sold for a fraction of its price. That money has to return home, to Montenegro or Serbia. But how do you move millions of euros without attracting the attention of international banks? They began to monitor real estate investments in the Balkans. Luxury apartment buildings appearing in small towns, nightclubs, hotels on the coast. The Pink Panthers were trying to launder their loot in brick and cement. They turned their precious stones into buildings, thinking that concrete would be safer. But the police also learned to read buildings. They followed shell companies, offshore accounts and connections with local politicians. The siege was total. They were taking away their refuge, their ability to enjoy the loot. Imagine a man sitting in his luxury villa, surrounded by marble and gold, but unable to go out into the street because his face is wanted by Interpol. Money becomes a cage. The diamonds that were once a symbol of freedom are now the weight that sinks them. Feel the heaviness of that gold, the coldness of that marble. It is not a wealth that gives peace. It is a wealth that generates insomnia. But for you, it is only a story, a lesson about the consequences of limitless ambition. The air in your room is light. Your conscience is clear. Sleep while the financial system closes the doors to those who thought they could bypass it forever. Every trace is followed. Every flow returns to its origin. Imagine you are at an international airport. It's late. There are few travelers. You see a well-dressed man with an expensive leather suitcase. He moves with the security of a diplomat. But his eyes do not stop scanning the room. He looks for cameras, he looks for uniforms, he looks for glances that last a second too long. This is the daily life of a Pink Panther during the Great Hunt. Airports became psychological battlefields. They used up to 5 different passports in a single trip. They flew from Belgrade to Istanbul, from Istanbul to Madrid, from Madrid to Mexico City, all to erase their trail. But Interpol had installed state-of-the-art facial recognition software. The wig didn't matter. The sunglasses or the makeup didn't matter. The bone structure of the face, the distance between the eyes, the way of walking, all of that is a fingerprint that cannot be changed. The man with the leather suitcase sits in front of the glass. He sees the rain hitting the glass. He knows that, somewhere in that airport, there is a team waiting for the moment to confirm his identity. He knows that the next step he takes could be the last one in freedom. Feel that loneliness? The loneliness of the one who has no home because the whole world is a trap. The murmur of the airport is a comforting sound for you, a sound of trips and vacations. But for him, it is the sound of the net closing. Let that murmur lull you. You don't have to flee from anyone. Your identity is secure. Your destination is rest. You are seeing the scene from a distance, feeling the melancholy of a life consumed in constant flight. The rain on the glass is relaxing. The world keeps turning and you are safe in your center. Rest. The shadows dissolve when sleep arrives. For the end of this block, the hunt returns to where it all began, to the mountains of Montenegro, to the streets of Belgrade. International pressure forced local governments to truly collaborate. It was no longer safe to hide at home. Raids began to happen at dawn. The sound of tactical boots on the pavement, glass breaking by local special forces. One by one, important names began to fall. Not in spectacular robberies, but in their beds, having breakfast with their children, or driving to the gym. The network was crumbling not because of a great epic confrontation, but because of exhaustion. Many of the original members were already in prisons in Switzerland, France, or Japan. Others had disappeared, possibly murdered by their own partners for fear they would talk to the police. The Pink Panther brand still existed, but the elite, the founders, the men who brought military discipline to jewelry robbery, were being erased from the map. The hunt has been a technical success, but it has left a void. The world wonders, is this the end of the Pink Panthers? Or are they simply mutating into something harder to detect? The answer is not in Interpol's files, but in the darkness that remains after the police lights go out. Close your eyes. Imagine the silence that remains in those mountains after the storm. The hunt has ended for today. You have seen how intelligence and science have cornered the bold. Feel the satisfaction of resolution, of the peace that comes after justice. Your breathing is slow and deep. You are entering sleep, where there are no pursuers or pursued, only the calm of a well-told story. In the next block, we will see the final decline and how the myth turned into ashes. But now, only silence exists. Good night. Listen to the silence of the cafe. We are in a forgotten corner of Belgrade. There are no more plans for glory in Dubai. No more laughter after the London hit. The men who remain look at each other out of the corner of their eyes. The air is thick with suspicion. The Pink Panthers' greatest strength, their blind trust in brothers in arms, has begun to rust. When Interpol closed the borders and froze the accounts, money stopped flowing with the same joy. And when money is missing, loyalty becomes a luxury that few can afford. Imagine a veteran of the network, someone who was in the 2003 assault. Now he sits alone. His face is no longer that of a young soldier, but that of a man who knows his name is in a global database. Every time someone enters through the cafe door, his hand tightens. Is it a friend? Is it an undercover agent? Or is it a colleague who has decided to sell his head to save his own? Paranoia is a slow poison. It doesn't kill suddenly, but it destroys the ability to act. The cells began to stop communicating. The codes that were previously sacred began to be ignored. It was no longer about being the best. It was about not being the next to fall. Feel that weight in your chest. The weight of knowing that the world you built is crumbling from within. No alarm sounding here, just the subtle sound of a glass touching wood. Honor among thieves is a nice phrase for movies, but in real life, fear is stronger than nostalgia. Breathe in that thick and calm atmosphere. You are safe. You are an observer at the next table. Time has stopped for these men, while the rest of the world moves forward. Sleep with the idea that even the boldest empires end in a dark corner, waiting for a signal that will never come. The success of the Pink Panthers created a monster, the imitators. By the mid-2010s, the name Pink Panther had become too famous. Gangs of young people in the Balkans, who had not lived through the war or had the military discipline of the founders, began using the name to gain respect. But they were not professionals. They were reckless. They began using violence gratuitously. They began shooting in jewelry stores, injuring security guards and civilians. What was previously a clean, white-collar operation became chaos and blood. The brand that the founders had taken so much care of was being dragged through the mud. For the veterans, these young people were a disaster. They attracted too much attention. They made the police more aggressive, and judges impose harsher sentences. The true Panthers saw how their legacy of criminal elegance disappeared under the impulsiveness of a generation seeking fast fame on social media, not the silence of diamonds. Imagine the frustration of the masters seeing the apprentices break all the rules. It is as if a perfect orchestra was replaced by white noise. This change marked the end of the sympathy that some sectors of the public felt for them. They were no longer the Robin Hoods of diamonds. They were simply dangerous criminals. The mystique broke, and without mystique, only the coldness of the law remains. Let that noise fade away. Return to the silence of your room. The chaos of the imitators is far away. You are on the side of the story that appreciates precision. Feel how the energy of the story drops in intensity, becoming more intimate. Sadder, the show has ended, and what remains is not pleasant. Sleep while the shadows of the new criminals are lost in the night. Rain in Switzerland is different. It is a rain that seems to wash away sin, but in reality only hides it. In 2011, one of the key pieces of the organization decided to talk. He didn't do it out of remorse, he did it for survival. We will call him the informant. Imagine this man in an interrogation room in Zurich. Outside, the rain hits the glass with a hypnotic rhythm. Inside, he is breaking the code of silence that kept the network alive for 2 decades. He gave names, he gave addresses of safe houses in Belgrade. He explained how the network of fences in Antwerp worked. He told how diamonds were hidden in cream jars and in the double bottoms of corrupt diplomat suitcases. Each of his words was a nail in the Pink Panther's coffin. Why did he do it? Because the network was no longer a family. The informant realized that he had been left alone in a moment of need. Military discipline had become every man for himself. The European police couldn't believe it. They had the complete map before them, the instruction manual for the ghosts. From that moment on, they were no longer playing guessing games. They knew who to look for even before the robbery was committed. Feel the cold of that betrayal. It is a cold that seeps into your bones more than the Geneva rain. The silence following a confession is the heaviest of all. The informant leaves the room with a new identity, but with the shadow of death following him forever. You, however, are in a warm place. The rain you hear is just a lullaby for sleeping. You have no secrets to keep, no friends to betray. Let the sound of the water clean your thoughts. The network is unraveling, thread by thread, and you are seeing how it happens from the safety of your rest. Year 2013, Lausanne, Switzerland. A group of 3 men prepares for what they believe will be a routine hit. They have studied the jewelry store. They have the escape vehicle. They have the stopwatch ready. But what they don't know is that the police are waiting for them inside. Thanks to the leaked information, special Swiss police units had set a perfect mousetrap. They didn't just monitor the shop, they monitored the hotel where they stayed, the car they rented, and even the cafe where they had breakfast. When the thieves broke the glass, they didn't meet frightened employees. They met submachine gun barrels and stun grenades. The assault lasted barely 10 seconds, but not to rob, but to stop them. For the first time in years, the Pink Panthers had no escape. There was no escape by motorboat. There was no car change in a parking lot. Only the metallic sound of handcuffs closing over wrists. That night, in the Lausanne police station, the myth of invincibility finally died. Photos of the detainees, tired, with their faces uncovered and their gazes lost, went around the world. They were no longer the action heroes of the Dubai security cameras. They were middle-aged men with families they wouldn't see for years, trapped in a system that had finally learned to play their game. Listen to the radio static. Imagine the blue lights flashing against the walls of old buildings. It is the end of the act. The adrenaline has transformed into a quiet resignation. Breathe slowly. The tension of the capture dissolves in your mind. You are not trapped. You are free in your sleep. Feel how the energy of the story becomes flat, almost monotonous. The climax has passed, and now only the resolution remains. Rest in the certainty that order has returned, and chaos has been contained. Look at that image. Old, tired hands. The hands that once cut diamonds with surgical precision can barely hold a cigarette now. The original Pink Panthers are aging. Many have spent the last decade in high-security prisons in different European countries. Isolation, lack of sunlight, and constant stress have taken a toll on their bodies. Others, those who avoided jail, live a life of shadows that is not glamorous at all. They cannot use their real name. They cannot return to their villages in Montenegro for fear of being turned in or murdered. They live in rented apartments in grey cities, looking out the window every time a car brakes sharply. The loot. Where is the loot? Much was lost in lawyers, in bribes, in supporting families during the fugitive years. The diamonds have vanished, and what remains is a pittance of a pension on the black market. There is a deep sadness in this decline. It is the story of men who thought they could beat time and the system. But time is the only judge that doesn't accept bribes. They sit in public parks, watching the young people pass, wondering if it was worth it. If the 3 minutes of glory in the Wafi Mall justify 20 years of loneliness, feel that melancholy. It is a soft feeling, like an old blanket. It's not pain, it's just tiredness. The tiredness of a life lived at a speed that the human heart cannot withstand forever. Let that feeling lull you. You don't have to run. You don't have to hide. Your life is quiet. Your future is rest. You are seeing the end of a long and dusty road. Sleep with the peace of those who have nothing to hide. The weight of years is light for you. And so, the network vanished. There was no epic final battle. There was no official announcement of dissolution. Simply, the phone stopped ringing. The cells stopped sending each other encrypted messages. The Pink Panther network became a ghost of what it was. Today, Interpol still has their files open, but they know that the organization as such no longer exists. Individuals remain. Small bands using the name remain. But the spirit, the military discipline, the non-harm ethics, the global logistics has been lost. The diamonds they stole are now on the necks of people who have no idea of their history. They have been cut, polished, and sold over and over again, becoming anonymous stones in a world of legal luxury. The story of the Pink Panthers is now a warning and a myth, a story told in whispers in Belgrade bars and at criminology conferences in Lyon. It is the tale of how a generation marked by war tried to steal from the world what history had taken from them, and how the world, in the end, always takes back what is its own. Close your eyes definitively. Feel how the story dissolves into the silence of your room. There are no more escape cars. There are no more broken glasses. Only your breath remains, rhythmic and quiet. You have traveled the ascent, the climax and the decline. You are on the shore of sleep. The water is calm. The darkness is protective and warm. Tomorrow we will see the legacy they left, but for now, your only mission is to rest. So the mystery stays here, in the shadows. Show while you lose yourself in the light of rest. Good night. Breathe very slowly. The story is reaching its port, after decades of robberies, hunts, and captures. A question remains floating in the air like dust in a sunbeam. Where is the money? It is estimated that the Pink Panthers stole more than $500 million in jewels, an astronomical figure that could buy entire kingdoms. But if you look at the lives of those who were captured, you don't see mansions in the Caribbean or luxury yachts. Many died in poverty or live on the bare minimum in forgotten cities. So, where did that river of diamonds end up? Some theories say the money was never for them. They say the Pink Panthers were only the executing hand of a much larger and darker organization. A network of former intelligence services and warlords who used the talent of these men to finance political agendas in the shadows of the Yugoslav post-war. The loot was not spent on champagne. It was spent on power. Other urban legends speak of safety deposits in banks that no longer exist, or diamonds buried in the hills of Montenegro, waiting for someone who no longer has the key to return for them. It is the myth of the pirate's treasure, adapted to the 21st century. But perhaps the truth is simpler and sadder. Perhaps the money was diluted in logistics, in bribes, in constant travel, and in the high cost of living like a ghost. Diamonds are eternal, but the wealth they generate is volatile. It slips through the fingers like sand in the Dubai desert. Feel the calm of that empty safe. There is nothing to look for anymore. The treasure is now just a story, a curiosity for Interpol analysts, You don't need that gold. You have the wealth of tranquility. Let the tick-tock of the clock lull you. Time has claimed its part of the loot and has left nothing behind. Rest in the void of ambition. Look at the world around you. Next time you pass a luxury jewelry store in New York, London, or Paris, notice the details. Those steel bollards rising from the ground. The glass that looks thin but can withstand the impact of a 10-kilo sledgehammer. The dense fog systems that activate in seconds to blind an intruder. All of that is the indirect legacy of the Pink Panthers. They forced the world of luxury to wake up from its dream of invulnerability. They changed the architecture of our commercial cities. They turned shop windows into bunkers disguised as elegance. The private security industry grew billions of dollars trying to anticipate their next move. Artificial intelligence algorithms were created to detect suspicious behavior in shopping centers. Tracking satellites and border closure protocols were improved. The Pink Panthers were the masters who unintentionally taught the police how to be smarter. It was an arms race of wit. And although the gang no longer operates as before, the defenses built to stop them are still there. Silent, protecting gemstones that you only need to see to appreciate. But you don't have to worry about security. Your refuge is your mind. Your bunker is your room. There is nothing here to steal because everything you possess at this moment is peace. Feel the solidity of the walls surrounding you, the softness of the sheets. You are protected by silence. Sleep knowing the world is under surveillance, but you are off the radar. Free and quiet. Rest in the stillness of what is already safe. The name Pink Panthers no longer belongs to the police. It belongs to modern mythology. Books have been written, documentaries filmed, and television series produced attempting to capture the essence of these men. The American and European public feels strangely fascinated by them. Why? Perhaps because they represent the last vestige of a type of criminal that no longer exists. An analog criminal in a digital world. Men who used paper maps, who drove real cars, and who put their bodies in the place of risk. In an era of cyber attacks and invisible scams over the internet, the Pink Panthers have the romantic aura of ancient pirates or Old West outlaws. We are fascinated by their discipline, their refusal to use unnecessary violence, and their ability to outsmart the powerful with tools as simple as a mallet or a jar of face cream. We see them as characters from a movie that stepped out of the screen to walk our streets. But behind the myth, we know there are real people with broken stories. Fascination is only a veil, a way to process the awe human audacity produces when it deviates from the marked path. Listen to the whisper of the wind. It is the sound of legends fading. Cinema and television try to catch the smoke, but smoke always escapes. You have the real version. The story of the men born from the cold who wanted to conquer the sun's shine. Feel how the interest in details fades. It no longer matters who robbed what. Only the rhythm of the story taking you towards sleep matters. The myth is kept in a drawer. The film set lights have gone out. You are in the comforting darkness of reality, where nothing happens and everything is fine. Sleep with the serenity of one who knows the difference between legend and life. Today, if you travel through the Balkans, you may cross paths with one of them without knowing it. It could be the man serving you a coffee on a terrace in Budva, or the taxi driver who knows all the shortcuts in Belgrade. They lead a life of absolute silence. The network code remains alive in their closed mouths. They do not talk about diamonds. They do not talk about Dubai for their neighbors. They are men who worked abroad for a few years and returned with enough money to live with discretion. The Pink Panther diaspora has integrated back into normalcy. That silence is their final victory. The police could never break the community's loyalty. In their native lands, they are still protected by a wall of respect and complicity. They are the sons who went to war and returned with invisible scars and crystal secrets. This final calm is necessary to close the circle. Every great storm ends in a puddle of stagnant water reflecting the sky. The frantic energy of the robberies has turned into the inertia of a quiet old age. Imagine that peace. The sun sets behind the mountains of Montenegro. The Adriatic Sea is calm. There are no sirens, no helicopters, no plans. Only the sound of waves and the aroma of Turkish coffee. That is the true end of the story. The return to the simple, to the small, to what really matters. Breathe in that peace. Let the silence of the old thieves be your own silence. There is nothing more to say, nothing more to explain. Words run out and only the feeling of conclusion remains. Everything is in its place. The cycle has closed. Sleep in the immensity of this shared silence. Everything is forgiven by time. Close your eyes almost completely. Imagine you are lying in the grass on a clear night, in the mountains of the Balkans. Above, the sky is a black mantle dotted with thousands of natural diamonds. The stars, unlike the stones the Pink Panthers stole, these jewels cannot be touched, cannot be sold, and cannot be hidden. They are there for everyone, constant and eternal. The Pink Panther story teaches us something about our own nature, about the desire to shine, to stand out, to escape a gray destiny. But it also teaches us that the most intense shine is the one that consumes the candle fastest. Audacity has a price, and often that price is peace. Now that you know the whole trajectory, the origin in war, the global ascent, the climax in the desert, and the decline in the shadows, you can see the complete picture. It is a story of beauty and loss, of precision and chaos. Feel the immensity of space above you. You are small, but you are safe. You don't need to steal the world's shine because you are already part of it. Your inner light is quiet, constant, like a distant star. Feel the night's freshness on your skin, but your blanket's warmth protects you. The earth beneath your body is solid and ancient. It sustains you, as it has sustained all generations of men and women, heroes and villains, who have passed through it. Let this perspective relax you. Your problems are tiny against the sky's eternity. Sleep with that humility, with that lightness of spirit. Everything is right in the universe. Rest in the harmony of the spheres. We reach the last minute of our story. It's time to let go of all images, all names and all places. London, Tokyo, Dubai. Now they're just words the wind carries away. Imagine a single diamond, the perfect diamond. It is pure, transparent, and captures all the light in the room. Look at it fixedly in your mind. See how it turns slowly, showing 1,000 different facets. But as you look at it, the diamond begins to soften. Its edges become blurred. Its light becomes dimmer and warmer. It is no longer a hard and cold stone. It is a cloud of light, a cloud that envelops you, that makes you feel light, that invites you to float. The diamond dissolves in your breath. With each exhalation, you feel heavier in bed and lighter in mind. The Pink Panthers no longer exist in this space. Only you exist, and the rest you have earned. You have heard a story of effort and ambition, and now is the time for the reward, the sweet oblivion of sleep. There is nothing to remember. There is nothing to plan for tomorrow. Your life's script now has a blank page, ready to be written after a deep and restorative rest. Feel how your muscles surrender totally, from your toes to your forehead. Your mind is as clean and clear as the purest crystal. The sound of my voice is fading away, becoming a murmur that blends with the night's silence. The journey has ended. The mystery has been told. The night is yours and yours alone. Sleep deeply. Dream of soft lights and quiet paths. The diamond's echo fades. Silence is absolute. The story has ended. Good night. Good night. Good night.